Academy Award-winning actress Viola Davis, Steve McQueen, and many Hollywood executives are baffled at the poor performance of Viola Davis's new movie, Widows. Now, Widows is Viola Davis's new film. It has a lot of critical acclaim, and unfortunately, it has only performed to the point where it's only gotten $12 million at the box office. Now, many of those Hollywood executives are scratching their head to why this film is performing so poorly, but I understand why this movie has failed to catch on. And the main reason why this film has failed at the box office has to do with something Viola Davis said during the promotional junket for Widows. And during the promotional junket for Widows, your Viola Davis decided to say how much she loved kissing Liam Neeson, and then professed to talk about how much she loved white men. And when she made that statement, she alienated the core customer base for the movie Widows, because the core customer base for the movie Widows would have been primarily black men, because it would be black men who would want to go out here and see a beautiful black woman like a Viola Davis in a movie, but when they heard that she was going to be kissing this white man and then professed to talk about how much she loved white men, that just made black men say to themselves that this was a movie that they didn't want to see, and those black men decided to vote with their wallet, and when they decided to vote with their wallet, they decided to not go see this movie. Because what these women like Viola Davis don't understand is that when it comes down to black men want to see black on black love. And we want to see a black man on screen with a black woman, and we want to see a black man loving a black woman. And we did not get to see that in Widows, a film which goes out of its way to deify and worship white men and talk about a black woman being in love with a white man. So black men were not getting their fantasy presented on screen in Widows, so they had no interest in going to go see this movie. And the small customer base of black women, they were also alienated by Viola Davis's statement, because that statement was not representative of what many sisters out there want to see in a black movie. They don't want to go see some black woman kissing on some white man and then professing to talk about how much she loves him. Now, there's a group of black women who are into that, deifying and worshiping white men, but there's a good group of sisters out there who aren't into that, and they also voted with their wallet regarding this film, because this film, again, did not appeal to that core customer base. And then you had Viola Davis going out here and sticking a middle finger up at those two core customer bases of black men and black women. And because she stuck her middle finger up at those audiences, they decided to just not go see the movie. Now, the other reason why Your Widows performed poorly was because it was opening on Thanksgiving weekend. And during that weekend, it had some really stiff competition. I mean, you had this art house kind of film, Widows, competing up against Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, Ralph Breaks the Internet featured appearances by Disney princesses and other Disney characters, and it was a kid and family movie. So this movie was being set up to go up against a blockbuster film. So it wasn't put in a place where it was going to be competitive. So I would never launch a art house film like a Widows up against a film like a Ralph Breaks the Internet if I were a film executive, because I know that that film is going to get destroyed. So the situation was also exacerbated by the week of release, because you're going up against super heavyweight films during one of the most competitive weekends in all of Hollywood, and that was another reason why this Widows film performed badly. Now, the third reason why this Widows film performed badly had to do with the premise. And the premise of Widows was that you had these women who were going to go out here and participate in this robbery that led to the deaths of their husbands. Now, their husbands died going out here to participate in this robbery, and now you have the females going out here to participate in this robbery to avenge them. or honor them or whatever it was. And that premise just was another one of these so-called strong women premises that we've seen continuously flop at the box office in movies like Atomic Blonde, like Your Proud Mary, and many other films like Ghostbusters 2016 and Ocean's 8. So this film's premise is in the same genre of films which feature the so-called strong women premise, and that strong women premise, sadly, has not performed well with the core female audience. And the main reason why it doesn't perform well with female audiences is because women just don't want to see themselves masculinized or presented in masculine roles. But your Hollywood continues to try to push this whole strong woman narrative, not understanding that their customer base does not want to be seen in these masculinized, manly type movies, and it's that masculinization that they're trying to present that turns away core audiences of women, and a good majority of those women, again, are with their kids watching Ralph Breaks the Internet, not trying to talk about girl power. They're more interested in Ralph Breaks the Internet because not only is this movie featuring Ralph in a sequel, but it also features those Disney princesses that many of those girls and women want to see in one of the sequences. So the whole movie's premise, with its whole feminist narrative, is something that just doesn't appeal to audiences out here. And you have Viola Davis sitting there scratching her head to why this film is a failure, when it's simply easy to me to understand why this film was a failure. And while the critics are so busy patting Steve McQueen on the back regarding the visuals and the story, it's just not a story that appeals to large audiences of people. When you look at a film like Widows, it's an art house movie, it's a far left movie, and it's a movie that's pushing the identity politics that alienates general audiences all across the country and all across the world. Because when it comes down to heroines, there's a completely different character transformation arc, and the viewers aren't getting that character transformation arc in movies like Widows, Ghostbusters 2016, Ocean's 8, Proud Mary, Atomic Blonde. They're not telling the story that women want to see regarding strong women, because when it comes down to strong women, women want to see a woman who has the strength of character to stand up for what she believes in, not a woman who is trying to be like a man. Because the whole concept of strong woman as related to feminism, and especially third and fourth wave feminism, is to act like a man and not value what makes a woman strong. Now, when I go out here and I write women and heroines, like I did in the Thetas, the Spinsterella trilogy, the Isis series, and the Eastern series, I always focus on the internal character traits. It's not about them trying to accomplish the same things as a man. It is about them standing up for their principles and their values. And that's what makes those heroines strong. That's what makes those heroines relatable. And that's what makes those heroines appealing to readers. Unfortunately, Hollywood wants to give us masculine women that present the strengths of a woman as related to a man, instead of trying to create stories that show us the strength of women being women, and valuing femininity and elevating femininity. Instead, what they want to do is elevate masculine traits in women. And when you try to elevate masculine traits in women, what that does is it turns men off, because that woman is not sexually attractive because she's acting like a man, and she's not sexually attractive to women because she's acting like a man as well. So that woman is not appealing to either audience because she is just not acting in a fashion that neither men or women consider to be naturally appealing or having character traits that people can relate to or identify with. And that's why these movies, like your Widows, your Proud Marys, your Atomic Blondes, and your Ghostbusters 2016 and Ocean's 8, fail at the box office. Unfortunately, Hollywood keeps trying to reinvent a formula for failure, not understanding that the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. We've had 4 or 5 of these strong women movies, and it's clear to me that the audience strongly opposes this kind of movie. Unfortunately, Hollywood keeps trying to push this narrative and getting pushed back from the audience. Now, a smart studio executive with the failure of Widows would say it's time for us to create a different type of heroine, someone who is more about the strength of character and more about the strength of values, and someone who is appealing to women and large audiences of women, instead of us trying to push a narrative that the audience already doesn't like, because they've already lost hundreds of millions of dollars on these types of movies, and it shows that there is no audience for them. Because when I look at the pattern here and the trajectory for it, this type of movie, again, has no audience, has no customers, and it's just time to stop making these kind of movies. But what's really sad is you have this Viola Davis sitting there, and she's praising white men and then wondering where it happened to the black audience. Why should a black audience go out to see a movie where they see a black woman kissing on a white man when what they want to see is a black man and a black woman together on screen? That's what I want to pay money to go see, but Hollywood won't make that movie showing me black on black love. No, it continues to try to push white on black love with white men romancing black women. And if they want to push that, then I can push my wallet right back in my pocket and walk right past that movie theater, because that theater and that studio are not giving me what I want. And what I want to see is a story that features a woman who has a strong sense of character, a strong character, and someone who can stand at the side of a black man, or is someone who can stand for themselves. That's what I want to see in a movie, but Hollywood doesn't want to give me that kind of story, so I go out of my way to go produce it myself on my own SJS Direct imprint, because Viola Davis, she's just completely clueless to what black people want, and she's sitting there thinking, oh, it's the audience's fault for not watching the movie, when it's Hollywood's fault for not producing the movies that we want to see. And that's the big problem with Hollywood these days as related to movies like Widows. They make the movies they want to praise and acclaim, and not the movies the audience wants to see on the screen. And they don't want to tell the stories we want to see. They want to talk about what they want, and that's why their box office is falling with each passing year, and Hollywood is in a state of decline, because they make the movies that don't appeal to anyone. They make movies that appeal to themselves, showing how completely lost Hollywood is, because I could easily see why this Widows movie failed, and that started at that press junket where you had Viola Davis sitting there praising white men, not understanding that with a black director, Steve McQueen, in charge, and your film, you being one of the lead stars, you should have been going out of your way to try to sell this movie to black audiences and showing the black audience why this film will appeal to them. Because when I look at the modern black audience these days, you just can't come at them and just say, I'm a black actor in a black movie. You have to give them content that is appealing to black people and shows substance as related to black people, and gives us a story that appeals to a black audience, that presents a positive, balanced, and humanized image of black people, and shows black people a black experience where they can see themselves and they can see the world around them in a balanced and humanized fashion. That's what black people want these days. But your clueless black people in Hollywood, like your Viola Davis and your Steve McQueens, they go out of their way to make these films that just don't appeal to black people, then wonder why black people don't go to the movies. If you want to read some positive stories about the African American experience that feature strong heroines that have strength of character, you can pick up the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the Thetas, the Spinsterella trilogy, and All About Nikki by clicking the link to Amazon.com. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can click the link to my Patreon in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.